If you admit to talking to yourself, you're going to be considered confused. People are going to look at you as if there's something wrong. But we talk to ourselves all the time. And we talk to ourselves because it's important for us to work things out. And we do this when it comes to our health. And I want to talk today about I want to talk today about the puzzles that happen when we're trying to do a keto lifestyle and what we can actually do to work through these ideas that came to me in the comments. So let's start by looking at the comments that I got because I found them so interesting. I made a video and I was talking about how I solve my keto or solve my health issues with keto. And I want to point something out. So let's just go through these comments. The first one that I want to put on screen here. This is, well, first of all, thank you. Choose him. One of the best and easy to understand videos you've ever seen on how to use keto in the keto and carnivore space. Okay. So the 5 W's: who, where, what, when, why, right? You following me years ago, but moved on because the veggies things didn't work for you. And you're happy to see that I'm carnivore more now. And I said that it was end game to get to carnivore. So there's a few things here I want to touch because I think this is a really interesting comment. First of all, I don't recall saying that carnivore is the end game. And if I gave that impression, that's not the impression that I was trying to give, because although I do believe that carnivore is the healthiest way to eat, I'm not necessarily saying that when you start a keto or even when you start a low carb lifestyle, that your focus is on getting to carnivore. Your focus is on healing your body. And that's what I want everyone to put their attention towards. Am I healing my body? Because if you're healing your body, I hope that what ends up happening is your body, so by eating the right foods and getting my body to a place where I'm absolutely doing better. My body feels good. My weight's coming down if I have weight to lose. My all of my metabolic markers are showing that my health is improving. If I'm actually doing all the things that my body wants me to do, then the goal is that I keep eating whatever way got me to this point. So if I started at low carb, then I'm moving forward with my life saying low carb moving forward. And everything I'm saying right now is with the assumption that you're eating whole foods, real foods, things that have only real ingredients that you can pick off a tree or a plant, or that was walking around on the planet at one point or swimming in the water at one point. When I say whole foods, real foods, that's what I mean. All the processed stuff, if that's out of your life and you're doing some kind of low carb way of eating, I think that most people can go for it forever. The reason that I still believe that going from low carb to keto is better is because the carbohydrates are the problem. And I think that we have enough evidence at this point. We're not enough doctors talking about it. Enough people like me who have improved their health talking about it to understand that the carbohydrates are the problem. So, if we can solve that, then yes, of course, if I solved it at low carb, that means that I had that little damage to my body that doing a low carb lifestyle, I feel great, and you decide to stay there, I honestly, truly believe your life will be fine moving forward. If you went to keto to get that result, and then you feel amazing, I honestly, truly believe your life will be great moving forward. It took, I was at that keto point. The reason that I stepped from keto over to carnivore was me doing a bit of math. Because what I could see for myself, and this is where, again, it all depends on when you're doing keto or low carb, because every one of these situations, the numbers are going to be dependent on you. When I was doing keto and feeling amazing, the amount of carbohydrate coming in was quite low. I honestly could have kept going forward like that. I do believe for many multiple years, probably through the rest of my life, and had a healthy, vibrant life. I truly believe that because for me, I was keeping my carbohydrates that low. That's what I was doing. Everybody's different. And I want you to think about what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing. If I was at a low carb scenario for the amount of damage my body had, and I would have tried to stay at low carb, I quickly could see where, because at doing a keto lifestyle, where I know I didn't even start my lifestyle, I thought I was doing keto. I don't think I was, because I was like at 70 something. And with the amount of inflammation that I have, if I would have had a ketone monitor at that time, I think I would have realized that I wasn't in ketosis. However, I still lost weight and I still started to feel better, which just encouraged me to tweak and get my numbers where they needed to be. Once I understood what 20 grams of carbs would actually be like, I got myself there. And then I rode that line of 20 grams of carbs until I realized that, for my body to stay in ketosis, I need to be at 18. All of this to say that you need to listen to your body and recognize that if your body needs you to be at 20 or maybe at 15 or maybe at 5, then that's what your ketogenic lifestyle would look like moving forward. But I totally could have kept doing what I was doing. I was eating 10 grams of carbs or less, and I can guarantee you that on most days, I wasn't even close to my 10. And then the days that I was were rare and far apart. However, they did happen once in a while. So I feel like the most important thing here is understanding that carnivore, I still believe, is the best diet. It's the healthiest diet. At the same time, people who are freshly into our world, so the babies that have zero metabolic damage, that eat mostly meat, probably are not going to have any negative repercussions if once in a blue moon they have vegetation. We each need to pay attention to how our body behaves if we're having vegetation daily, because that is when you start to see those differences. I saw the differences while I was having my vegetation daily. Since going carnivore in February, I haven't had, I haven't had vegetation. And I actually am very happy that I've decided to keep that going forward. Will I ever have vegetation again? Like some olives or avocado? I probably still want to say yes to that, only because I think that if I was in a country where I could walk up to a tree and pick an avocado or pick an olive off the plant and eat it when it's ripe, I would do that, because that's a ripe avocado or olive, which A means that the plant has removed a good portion of the oxalates and toxins that cause it to not want us to eat it, first of all. But second of all, because I wouldn't be in that scenario every day, all the time, on repeat. So the other piece of this post I want to talk about are the 5 W's, the who. Violet, I need to pay attention to who I am. I need to pay attention to how I've lived my life. And so therefore, the fact that for me, this is working, and for you, your answer might be slightly different. And all of our answers are going to be slightly different because of the individuals that we are. But then the flip side of that who We are all human. All humans have some level of issue with the toxins in plants. Do we acknowledge it? No, because we don't know what's happening. But all humans have some level. So I want us to really be conscientious of this, because if we're not thinking about it, right? That whole, we do have this data, are we paying attention to it? Where I live in Canada, so the foods that are available to me all year round versus what would have been available to me if we didn't have all this infrastructure to keep food on my table 24/7, I wouldn't have been eating the amount of carbohydrate that I was eating. And so the what that we eat, that's the third W I'm talking about, the what that we eat really does matter, right? I would have been maybe 3 months out of the year, not even, because you have the summer months. So we start getting warm here, April, May, June, but you don't actually have April, May, June vegetation that you can eat that entire time. If it has to grow on the plant and then and get, so really probably somewhere in July, August, certain things would have become available to be eaten at that point. And of course, pumpkins still keep going right up until I think October. So we would have had a few months, but it would have been a few months, a certain thing at a certain time available to eat, not the whole entire summer with all the things all. So where I live actually matters. What I eat actually matters. When the time of year actually matters, it would have been time restriction. And then the whole other piece of this puzzle is why. And Wellness Warrior, I spend the most of my time on the why, because it's the why that's going to change everything for you. This is why this is the first comment I'm talking about, because if you get this right, everything else is going to make so much sense. Why we eat vegetation is because there's no animal available for us to eat. And when we understand that, everything else makes so much more sense, because if there's an animal to eat, I don't need to eat vegetation because I'm eating the animal, then I eat the animal and I go on with life, and that will keep going on repeat. And that's part of the reason why in cold climates like Canada, where 6 months out of the year there's nothing growing that's edible, nothing growing, because those evergreen trees are not edible, as far as I understand, for us. Edible for other animals, not for us. How would we have survived? Right? So the why is, yes, does it make sense for me to fatten up during the summer if I can, so that when the winter rolls around and I don't have access to this vegetation, and maybe I have struggled to catch an animal, that I have the energy on me to keep me moving forward? And it absolutely does. And I wish I could remember this guy's name. The man that fasted the longest in the world, 380 some odd days. I think his last name was Bieri or something. Oh my goodness, I'm not remembering his name. If somebody knows it, put it in the chat. But this man fasted longer than a year because he had that much energy on his body to lose, right? To use, I should say, to use. He had fat stored on his body. And what started as a 2-week, let me try to fast to see what I can accomplish and how can I help myself because of all the trouble that this weight on his body were causing, turned into 380 some odd days. How was he able to do it? Because he had fat on his body. There's a reality that for us, we eat so often that we don't give ourselves time to dip into and use the energy on our bodies because there's always food available. Now we're in a problem, Wellness Warrior, because since there's always food available and we never dip in and we're just storing all the time, then now we are faced with the problem of damage that happens to our body because we are overweight. This is not a good thing for anyone. And so that was the other piece of the puzzle in this video in this comment that I wanted to talk to, because I do feel that you pointed out something that I really just wanted to make sure that I shared with the community. And I very much thank you for that. Hello, Michael Wright. How are you doing? And let me just do this. And how do you do that? Hold on. StreamYard is actually having a little bit of an issue today, so my setup is a little different, but I want to take a moment. This is a Q&A, so I would be absolutely happy if you guys put up questions that I can kind of bounce back and forth between the questions that I've collected and your questions, so that we can have a nice conversation here. I want to know what things have been puzzling to you that might be interfering with your ability to do keto the way that you want to do it. So I have my setup already, but what do you guys want to know about? Hello, Thesis Reed. Nice to meet you. I don't think I've seen that name before. So I'm not sure if that's, I like that name. Anyways, good morning. I have a Violet as a first name. I feel like I like kind of names like these. Hello, Pat. And thank you, Pat, for giving me Angus Barbieri. Thank you. And the doctors followed him, and his health was absolutely fine. So it's so important for us to understand. Thank you for looking that up for me. It's so important for us to understand that we absolutely can make these kind of changes and help our lives to move forward. The next comment that I want to talk about is, okay, so it says, technically, it's healthy to lose 1 to 2 pounds, 1 to 2.5 pounds per week, max for a normal, moderately overweight person. But if you're significantly overweight and you combine keto and intermittent fasting, much quicker results are probable, and even may improve your glucose levels and cell turnover. So saying that I'm right, though that garbage keeps you hungry. I think you mean garbage. Constant spikes up and down in carbs and sugar contribute to cravings and not true hunger, but many Americans have lost the ability to tell the difference. Thus, they eat when they crave things brought on by garbage and withdrawal. So the thing that I want to point out here in this comment, and again, this is coming on the heels of the video that I put up last week, Friday, where I talked about losing 3.5 pounds per week-ish. If you look at like how long it took me to lose weight. Now, obviously, some weeks I lost more than 3.5 pounds, and other weeks I didn't lose. I had 1 or 2 different points in my journey where I didn't lose anything for a week, and then it started up again. So actually, technically, it was more than 3.5 on some weeks, and then other weeks where I lost nothing. Why am I still saying that that was an absolutely healthy way to lose weight? And so basically, I'm right now about to say that 1.5 to 2 on the max, that's not a real piece of information that someone can say and impose on anybody. Why am I saying that? If you are eating a healthy diet, which is what I was doing, and I was eating a lot of food, so it's not like I was under eating, and my body had access to energy on board, then the right amount for my body to lose is the amount that my body decides to lose. Dr. Fung has pointed out to us that if your body is starving, it actually will do processes to stop weight loss. So it's going to do is it's going to slow it down. It's going to do everything it can to block you from losing weight, which would then have meant, and one of the things that it does, by the way, Wellness Warrior, one of the things that it does, is it makes you extremely hungry. It turns on your hunger hormone so aggressively that all you can do is think about food. People who are actually starving spend all day thinking about food. when they're going to get food, and I need food around me. And that's what happens. So it's important for each of us to understand that if you are trying to eat a healthy keto lifestyle, carnivore lifestyle, low carb lifestyle to lose weight, but you find yourself constantly hungry, you're not eating a healthy keto or carnivore lifestyle. What you're doing is you're doing some kind of restriction and your body is reacting. The only time that I would say that what I just said is inaccurate is if you are right at the beginning, that first week to 2 weeks, your addiction, right? So those cravings are going to push you to want to eat, and you're going to feel hungry because your body is looking for the sugar that it was used to getting that's not coming in. Your pleasure centers in your brain are going off, and your cravings are in high gear trying to get you to feed me the sugar because I'm freaking out. My pleasure center is freaking out because it's not getting it. Once you've passed that point and you are eating healthily, meat, fish, poultry, eggs, that's the food portion. The carbohydrates you're putting on your plate are for fun. So let's just be clear about that. But if you are able to eat them, and if that's how you're doing your lifestyle and that's how you plan to move forward, yes, put them there. But understand the meat, fish, poultry, eggs, that becomes the thing that you're feeding your body with. And if you do it in the best possible way, in a way that helps your body to if you do it in a way that helps your body to keep itself in this ketogenic state, keeps your body from chasing, keeps your body from storing fat unnecessarily, it should store it when it's supposed to and not store it when it shouldn't. And we should be eating in a way that allows our body to do the right thing with food. So if you're doing all those things, being hungry 24/7 all the time, thinking about food, all that stuff that was happening to me should not have been happening to me. It was happening because I was constantly overeating sugar. So this is the reason that I really wanted to focus on that, because I need everyone to understand that the max is whatever your body decides the max is going to be if you're eating in a healthy way. If you're being deprived of food and losing 3.5 pounds, if you're being deprived of food and losing half a pound per week, it's still too much. If you're being deprived of food, your body is in a bad situation. Even losing a 1/4 pound per month is too much if you're being deprived. So we need to be careful that we understand the difference between healthily losing weight and deprivation weight loss. They're completely different. As a matter of fact, I will say here, it's the same difference that I want us all to make between ketosis and ketoacidosis. Completely different. Ketosis, healthy state for the body. Ketoacidosis, my body being poisoned by excessive amounts of ketones, which we can make happen if we are a type 1 diabetic and we don't take our insulin. And we can also make happen if we ingest copious amounts, so a lot of exogenous ketones, so man-made ketones. If we're ingesting that, drinking it, or adding it to everything, can we push our ketones too high? Of course, because this is not our body making what we need. It's us over ingesting. When we eat real food, it comes in as fat. Our body turns it into the ketones that we end up using. I hope this is making sense. Let's move on to the next one. Oh, are there any new comments? Okay, nope. Okay, so next point. Thank you for your testimony. I can understand why you gave up fruits due to the sugar, though I'm not 100% in agreement with that. But I don't understand why you gave up vegetables. And First of all, I appreciate that you worded it as a question, voiced your personal opinion. I appreciate that, and that's why I'm answering it here today. There are a lot of people in the keto community that wonder why I've given up vegetables, and I haven't given them up. So I need us all to understand something. If there was a scenario where I could pick a vegetable that was low in carbohydrates directly from the plant, I would have it. That's not my story here in Canada. Everything is picked off the tree before it's ripe. And Dr. Sally Norton helped me to understand that when you pick something off the tree before it's ripened, the toxins in that fruit or vegetable are higher than if you waited for it to ripe and then pick it. And there's a reason for that. The plant is trying to stop the animal or bug that they want to eat it from eating it before it's ready. So their offspring in there that they want to be transported somewhere else, the seed, or right, they want it to be ready. So we end up eating something that has too much toxins in it. So even more toxins than our ancestors would have ever ingested. Well, first of all, let me back up again. We are so smart, Wellness Warrior, that we actually crossbreed fruits and vegetables in a way that we make them extra resistant to the bugs that will try to eat them, extra resistant to the elements. And we don't realize, well, that's not true. I think that the people doing the crossbreeding realize it, but the world doesn't realize that eats it, that when you make a plant extra resistant by crossbreeding, what you've done is you said, oh, there's some toxins in this plant that stop this kind of bug from eating it. There's some toxins in this plant that stop this kind. If we crossbreed them, we can get those plants, the toxins from both of these in the same plant. Now we have an even more resistant, because both sets of bugs won't eat it. That's a toxin though. And yes, in a micro amount that maybe I'm having it once in a blue moon, not going to impact the average person. But we're not average people, Wellness Warrior, and we're not having these things once in a blue moon. Can I point out to everybody that the majority of us have insulin resistance because we've been, over the course of years, eating the wrong foods. The majority of us are walking around inflamed internally because we've been walking around eating the wrong foods. And all the while that we're walking around eating these wrong foods, scientists are making them even more bug resistant and pest resistant, and therefore making it harder for us because we eat them not once a year, not even a few weeks out of the year once a year. No, we eat them on rotation every single day. It's not healthy. So the reason that I stopped eating vegetables, and I mean, like you're right about the fruit, but the vegetables came after Sally Norton and Dr. Chafee both helped me to see that no, the toxins that are in these things are harming me. I might not be able to see the outcome of that quickly, but the same way I didn't see the outcome of the sugar on my diet until like 23 when it first started, 46 when it was out of control. The same way that I didn't see the problem with nightshades while I was eating sugar, because the sugar was beating me up so bad that my body couldn't even bother telling me about what the nightshades were doing to me. Took the sugar out of my diet, kept moving forward with spicing my foods and still eating vegetation, only to find out that every time I had tomatoes, tomatoes was the one that really showed me, because tomatoes being a fruit, I wasn't having except in certain things, like if I had guacamole, sometimes I put a little tomato, or if I had Oh my goodness, what was it? I can't remember. Oh, yeah, like if we made tacos, the salsa sauce. And then those occasions, I started to notice that I was reacting. Go back in history when I figured out that potatoes had given me a problem, but I thought it was the carb count, to only figure out months into my keto journey, I already lost all the weight, wellness warrior. So this is not a weight thing. This is a how can I help myself thing. I finally figure out that actually I have a nightshade problem. I would have I don't think I would have ever figured that out if sugar was still in my life, because I was inflamed all the time versus when I took sugar out of my life, I was only inflamed sometimes. And even more recently, just to take this story home, now I'm wondering about dairy. Dr. Georgia Eid helped me to see where most mammals, once they're weaned, stop ingesting dairy, partially because the milk of your mother, the point of that is to do what? Is to grow you quickly. We are stimulating growth. And then we complain that we're overweight, but we're stimulating growth. But that point of stimulating growth finally got me thinking about something else. In my family, there have been a few people with cancer. I'm not looking to put down one problem, my joint issues, to pick up a different problem later down the road. Extra growth, right? Expansive growth, crazy growth. That's what cancer is. It's a bunch of cells that shouldn't be replicating. And I'm not going to ingest anything on a regular basis that's pushing this idea. So I'm cutting it down. It's still there somewhat, I'm not going to lie, but I'm slowly just weeding it out, because I know that in the long run for me, having less of that is better than having more. And that's where my attention goes, wellness warrior. Every time I learn something, I look at my life and say, how would applying this to my life help me? How would applying this to my life make it more difficult? I'll look at that too. But it's rare that the part that it's making more difficult is outweighing the benefit I'm going to get. And I can honestly tell you that 99.999% of times when I do that, I end up deciding, yeah, this thing is going. The vegetation took longer than it probably should have. I'll be honest with you about that, because we went on vacation, and then like I came back from vacation having not eaten any vegetation. I was gone for a week. It was a beautiful time. And I came back and resumed eating vegetation. Now it was only a week, so I didn't have any digestive upset. But I honestly feel like when I came back and I resumed eating it, it did help me to have more carnivore days than not, which was great. And it set me up for that when in February here, when I decided I'm done, it was super easy. So that's my reasoning for just walking away from the carbohydrates. Let's take a look here to see if there's more comments. Okay, so the sound is low. I'm sorry about that. I for me, it's a tiny bit on the low side. Thank you, Pat. Okay, so let me just do a quick something here, because I probably could turn it up a little bit. Is that better? I hope that's better. I can actually even probably go a little bit more than that. Let me just go to there. I don't want to. So I changed the audio a bit. Let me know. I'm kind of hoping that it's good enough now. So thank you very much for pointing that out. And we have Jay Sharp. I just read an article today about scientists genetically modifying certain crops, foods, due to earth warming and negatively impacting the growth of food. Kind of sad about that. I definitely feel that for the majority of people that are going to want to improve their health, the number one thing that we need to do, and I definitely think that for every person, if you can do this, start today. It's this. Every time that you go to eat food, make sure that you're doing that because A, you're actually hungry, and then make sure that what you're eating is about health rather than it being about it tastes fun. Because I think that the number one reason that they even focus any of their energy, any of their time on these crops and all is because the price of feeding us with plants is apparently cheaper than feeding us with meat, even though we pay for this stuff. But okay, this is what I'm understanding. But the other thing is that if we keep choosing to allow vegetation at high quantity and especially high glycemic vegetation to be what we eat, then we just open the door that they keep selling us that. Right? And we open the door that they keep giving that narrative that plant based diets are healthier. Even though everyone that's watching this video, I'm sure that you're going to say to me that you improved a lot in your life by what? By eating healthy, real food that was meat based. But we're the small minority right now, Wellness Warrior. My goal is that we talk about this enough and that I can help the mainstream to start to understand that this is not a one-off. This is not accidental. The reality is we should all be eating meat, fish, poultry, eggs, and seeing any vegetation that we put on our plate as entertainment. And I say that purposefully because I want you to think about it. There's the food you have on your plate and the entertainment. If I'm actually hungry after I've eaten this and I need to go back for seconds, should I be putting entertainment or should I be putting real food? You know, if you think about your kids, if your kids, when they were eating and they had dessert waiting for them, would you let them eat half of the healthy food so that they can have more dessert? Probably not. But somehow for ourselves, we let ourselves do it, right? And this is really what I want you to understand, because when you go back for seconds and take a little bit of meat and a lot of vegetables, because that's more fun to eat, you need to understand that it's more fun to eat because it's still activating the pleasure center in your brain that causes you to chase, that eventually, if you're not careful, could cause you to want the Snickers bar or the whatever chocolate bar was your favorite. Actually, mine was caramel. Like whatever thing that used to chase, it's gonna push you there, right? Was it French fries? Again, for me, it was poutine, right? It's gonna push you to go get that thing because you don't even realize that that's what's happening. You don't realize it because how could you? We are made to believe plant-based is better. Oh, thank you, Pat, for letting me know the audio is better. Hello, Empire Adventures. Glad that you were able to make it here. Rachel German. I'm traveling for work soon and I'm concerned about seed oils in the food when eating out at restaurants. I'm hoping I can recover from that when I get home. Should I worry about this hurting me? So, Rachel, what I will say is, obviously, it's a concern. It's always a concern. Now we're looking at the scenario of where are you in your journey? So, theoretically, especially if I had no choice but to be away for multiple days, I think the thing that I would do was get a bed and breakfast instead of staying in a hotel. The reason that I would do that is that in a bed and breakfast, usually we have a cooktop of some kind, and I can make my own meals. And then all I would do is focus my attention on eating my food like at home. And luckily for me, I don't know where you are, Rachel, but luckily for me, I'm one meal a day. I have zero problem to be out and about with people and they're eating and I'm not, because I'm not eating that. So I don't have that issue. If you have that issue, right, then it might be a bigger problem for you than it would be for me. But that would be my first go-to. Choose a place where you can cook for yourself. My second go-to would be to find a local mom and pop store. That'd be a restaurant. That'd be my first choice. So I'm looking for the small place where I can pay a little extra and they're going to cook the way I ask them to cook, right? Butter or tallow or like fat, whatever they have, but like healthy fats. So butter, tallow, lard, if they have it. Even if I have to bring them lard, I would bring it. This is how far I would go, right? But I'm looking for the little mom and pop shop, and I'm just asking them, salt, fry me a piece of meat. I'm willing to pay you if I can't cook in my space. That would be my second go-to. These two options, I think that most of us can do. Like, for example, Pat and I recently went to an event for his work, and it was in Quebec City. And so obviously by the time that we left Montreal, got to Quebec City, we needed to have supper. And there's a small restaurant again, and we called ahead. We asked for the type of meat. And when we got there, the owner was so nice, asked us about why, like, allergies, whatever, wanted to make sure what was going on. We told him our scenario. We're carnivore and we don't eat veg and whatever. And then he asked, are there any other things? And we said, well, if you could just cook it in butter, that would be amazing. No problem, they said. No problem, they said. And by the way, we ordered double meat, and which means theoretically they could have charged us 4 meals, and they didn't. They charged us a meal and a half each, and we were totally prepared to pay 4 meals because we asked for 2 servings of meat. So after discussing with them how large a portion of meat was, right, we asked for 2 servings. So I feel like when you take the time to talk to the owners of the restaurant, if you can, this is why we aim at those smaller places, because they'll have the conversation with you. Then you make the best, you end up in the best scenario. And like whenever we were traveling for a week or so, and we choose bed and breakfast, that allows us to cook. And if the kids are with us, we'll eat out one of the days. But I can typically manage, because I'm the inflammation person. I'm the person who's going to be crying. And I can typically manage one meal that might have had some oil in it. But still, I found if you ask people, most often what I'll find out is that either they're grilling something and they can grill it, they can like clean the grill for me before they grill it, which works. Or like, I like I said, one day I can get through. I wouldn't want to be in that scenario for a full week though. A full week, I know I'm not going to do well. And that's just a bad situation. So I hope that those suggestions, Rachel, I'm too mad about 9 months into carnivore. There will be a lot of team meals. I like the idea of requesting special preparation. I'll call ahead to the restaurants when I can. Yeah, the team meals, like I said, if it was me, I'd probably just have coffee if I'm suspicious of what's in the meal. I mean, I've gone to many occasions where people are eating, and if I can't get my meal specially prepared in advance, like that they know my scenario, and I can't get that done, I just eat nothing. And especially when you go to restaurants where they're using seed oils, sometimes we end up in restaurants where it's just obvious, right? Especially if it's like not necessarily a fast food restaurant, but like that one step up from a fast food restaurant. I will have a coffee and or 2 or 3, however many, while I'm enjoying my time with the people or whatever is going on. So the next point that I want to make is number 4. So please give us an idea of what you eat in a day to maintain your weight goal. Thanks. So, what I want to say is for you, Melanie, is this. There's a reason that I don't talk about what I eat specifically, because I have issues with nightshades. I have issues, well, with carbohydrates altogether, but I know that we all do. I believe I have issues with oxalates. And what other issues do I have that you might not have? For example, a lot of people talk about being able to take coconut oil, for example. And for me, I can't do it, right? Coconut oil just doesn't work for me. Whereas other people, no problem. A lot of people talk about even olive oil and avocado oil. I've been pulling back on because when I saw coconut oil was giving me problem, I'm like, oh, okay. Each of us will have our sensitivities. And so if I say to you, well, these vegetables work for me, and then you start eating them, but you still have inflammation, and you're not at that stage of your journey now where you can tell that you have inflammation from these things, and it's not just the sugar, you could be eating something that's causing you problems, but because it was okay for Violet, you're thinking it's okay for... That's not how this works. So what I want you to do, what I want every wellness warrior to do, first I will acknowledge I went from 80 pounds overweight to my healthy weight doing keto. So I was eating vegetation, and during the time that I was eating to lose weight and heal my body, during that period of time, I was eating 2 servings of vegetation every day at the beginning portion. I transitioned to 1 meal a day, I would say probably after somewhere between 2 and 3 months. And that once I was doing 1 meal a day, that 2 servings of veg was now my veg beside my meat. Eventually, that shifted and it became less, because that's a lot of food, and my meat. Now, the vegetation that I was eating, it was some experimental vegetation. So here's now Violet's story. I didn't eat vegetables before I started keto. I was that person that vegetables were potatoes, usually in the shape of French fries, carrots, and salad, but like you're talking about iceberg salad, like very like didn't basically, if I was trying to look like I was doing something healthy, I'd make a salad, right? And the salad would have all kinds of croutons and right, or even I would do the Caesar salad as well, but again, all the croutons and the extra cheese and the right. And by the way, never in the history of being me did I use light or diet dressing. So I wasn't eating vegetables. And I say that because I want you to understand that when I started my keto life, I actually had to figure out what vegetables to eat. I had to learn to eat them. And that wasn't easy for me because I had never liked them. So first I had to buy vegetables and try them out and see like what was going to be there. And it seemed like so much work that what I ended up doing was I made it as easy for myself as I could. I bought a bunch of vegetables. I didn't even bother, if I even tried to tell you what they were, it wouldn't make any sense to you anyways, because what I did was I passed them through a blender so that they were chopped, not liquid, so chopped. And then I would stir fry them. So I put all the vegetables that I thought were healthy, so all the low glycemic stuff, chopped them up, put them in a stir fry, and I would cook for the week. And that was my side dish every single day going forward until I lost the weight. So when people ask me, what did you eat? I notoriously say, you don't want to eat like me, because I am that person that I didn't eat meals for fun. That was never a thing for me, unless it was pizza or poutine. Those were the 2 fun meals for me. All the other, spaghetti. All the other meals that I ate was because it's supper time, I'm hungry. What I ate for fun was chocolate. That's what I ate for fun. It could have been a chocolate cookie. It could have been a chocolate bar. I didn't like chocolate ice cream. I find that disgusting because it's never real chocolate. But vanilla ice cream with chocolate in it, like chocolate pieces, yes, I could do that. So when people ask me to tell them what I ate, my answer is usually, you don't want to know what I ate because you're not going to do what I did. I can't imagine that any one of you listening, matter of fact, I'm not going to talk for you. Put it in the comments right now. I just told you that I chopped my vegetables up, stir fried them together. Oh, okay, I didn't tell you the other piece. I did spice them, right? Put a lot of spice on them so that they tasted spicy. But that was what I was eating on rotation. I would love to know in the comments, Wellness Warrior, you do it or you wouldn't do it? How many of you say, that's my solution? That's what I would do. I would eat the same thing for 5, 10, 20, however long it takes you to lose weight. I would just eat the same chopped up vegetables. And I'm talking chopped up to the point that it was almost like I was eating rice. That's how finely I was chopping them and just stir frying it together. It was this ubiquitous brownish purple looking, put it on the plate, it looked like rice. How many of you are feeling like, that sounds so appetizing? I want that. So I'm waiting, but chances are that's not going to be what you would have wanted. And that's the point. Don't eat what I ate, because what I ate doesn't matter. What I want you to do is look at what you're currently eating. Every one of you. What are you eating right now? Look at the vegetables and start going through the list. Oh, I'm eating carrots. 100 grams of carrots is this many carbs. 100 grams of broccoli is this many carbs. 100 grams of cabbage is this many. I want you to go through the list of vegetables that you currently eat and hopefully that you like. Go through them. And then once you know how many grams of carb, now you have an idea of which ones are high in carbohydrate, which ones are low in carbohydrate. We get rid of the ones, so potatoes going to be off the list, obviously. Carrots going to be off the list. Sweet peppers are going to be off the list. All the ones that are high in glycemic index, you take them off the list. And whatever is left, this is what you have to play with. Now, if you don't have enough, which I had to take away potatoes, I had to take away carrots. Okay, iceberg lettuce could stay, but I didn't like that anyway. So there was nothing on my list left that I could eat. I really started from scratch. Well, I did already eat cabbage, but I didn't have it very often. So I had to add cabbage, and then I had to add a bunch of other vegetables and figure out how was I doing this, which meant I took a trip to a store that we have here that's just fruit and vegetable. I went to the vegetable department and I just started looking at things and thinking, wow, I'll give this a try. And that, a lot of leafy things, by the way. I'll give these things a try. And now that I know from Sally that those leafy things were probably not the best way to go, but I didn't know that at the time because I had kale and I had spinach in the mix. But whatever, I didn't know that at the time. But I tried a bunch of stuff. And that's how I figured it out. And like, there were certain things that I didn't mind the prep process. So if it took me too long to clean it before I could cook it, like for example, a lot of the leafy stuff, I liked them in the food, but like I didn't like how long it took me to wash every single leaf because pesticides. So the time it was taking me to wash every leaf before I could put it in, yeah, those started to follow. So that mix that was, brownish purple at the beginning, slowly morphed more towards, well, I still had purple cabbage in there, so it was still purplish, but it was more of a lighter greenish purple by the end, by the time I was finished. So like a lot of things shifted and changed because I don't like to take a lot of time preparing to eat or preparing my food and cooking. Wellness Warrior, you are not going to do what I did. All right. I doubt it. So I'm not looking for you to do what I did. I'm looking for you to figure out what vegetables could work for you. Did anyone answer my question? Like, Doesn't sound appetizing. Thank you very much, Rachel, for being honest. It doesn't sound appetizing because for most people, that's not appetizing. Again, for me, it's not a big deal because I'm not that person that's eating based on or eating meals based on fun. My snacks were all about fun. My snacks were all about fun. As a matter of fact, oh, I have to put my hand up and say, no, I made a mistake. My breakfasts were also about fun. When I was eating normally, so that means I'm not in any way trying to lose weight. Oh my goodness, I love cereal. Love cereal, right? Love cereal is code for I couldn't not eat cereal, right? That's code for addicted to cereal. And totally was. And I can look back now on it and realize that that's what was happening. I would have, I mean, a serving of cereal is probably like, 30 grams to like 35 grams for most cereals. I was having soup bowls of cereal. That's not the right amount of cereal. There's no way. And honestly, I'm so happy today that I've gotten this under control because I just look back on, first of all, cereal, second of all, milk. So I'm just encouraging my body to take the sugar and build structures that probably shouldn't be there. So I'm very happy that I've made that adjustment. Hello from sunny Arizona. Thank you for this content. I recently started low carb, keeping carbs to 50 grams per day, and a 16-8 intermittent fasting schedule. I don't feel hungry, and I'm not experiencing stomach bloat like I was. I do, however, feel my energy level is down, and so perhaps I'm doing too many new routines at once. Anyway, I have about 8 pounds to lose, so maybe I'll slow it down a bit. Thank you for explaining so concisely. So, what I think, and when I first read this, I was like, if I just recently started low carb, but I only now have 8 pounds or so to go. So it makes me wonder two things. Like, did you quickly lose what you were trying to lose, and so therefore that's all you have left? Or did you start off like you were already close to goal weight, like you maybe only had 10 pounds and you've lost 2? And so I'm trying to understand what's happening there because you said recently. So that being said, the part where you started you said carnivore or low carb? Low carb, I think you said. The fact that you started low carb, right, and 16-8 so quickly makes me think that it's probably doing both at the same time, but it also depends on what you meant by low carb. So, and the reason I'm putting that there is that you're saying 50 grams of carbs per day, which is kind of close to what could be considered keto, but it's still more than would get you in a ketogenic state. So the reason I think that you might be tired is because your body is still actually running on carbohydrates. And because 50 grams might not be enough to get you where you want to be. So now I'm going to say something that's interesting and this all goes back to you only have 8 pounds left to use and you only recently started this. And it makes me wonder, if I didn't have a lot of fat on my body, what was my body doing with the sugar? Wellness warrior, we need to be really aware of the fact that when our body is having all this sugar come in from a normal diet, standard American, standard Canadian diet, it's doing something with it. If it's not putting it in fat storage, then it's doing something. So I actually think the reason that you are reacting and the reason that you feel tired is because you're insulin resistant, you're not in a ketogenic state, and you're still bringing in enough carbohydrate to like keep you insulin resistant, but you're not necessarily low. You're not low enough to get the ketone benefits that you think you'd be getting. So now we go to the 16-8 fasting schedule. Well, 8 hours of an eating window is still enough for you to be eating enough that your body does not necessarily cleaning up enough to change these scenarios. So I feel like it's a combination of things. And what I would probably suggest, well, again, like you're doing this for health. So let's just go there. Yes, you have 8 pounds to lose. If you focus on losing the 8 pounds and go back to your standard diet, what will happen is you'll regain the weight. Not ideal. If you focus on doing this and tweaking it and doing it properly so that you get the best health benefit, that's where you're going to win. Because what's going to happen is if I can get my carb count low enough that I actually get into a ketogenic state, how will I know I'm in a ketogenic state? Because you already were losing weight, and my guess here is you feel exhausted because you're not in a ketogenic state. I'll have energy. Actually, one of the first things most people notice when they get into that ketogenic state is they do have energy. They do have mental clarity. They feel great. It's not just about not being hungry. And I know that for a lot of us, food is all about hungry. But the more that I read and learn, the more I'm understanding that hungry is like so low on the totem pole of what food is about that we're going to be shocked. Like I'm looking forward to know what you guys think about my next few videos, because I feel like it's shocking what I'm learning right now. But it's not about hungry. It's not about what we think metabolism is about. So the fact that you don't have the stomach bloat, I think, is positive, because it means that you're not also causing inflammatory reactions in your gut, which is not great. Dr. Berg is always talking about small intestinal, the SIBO there, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And it can lead to leaky gut and all kinds of problems. So like, I do think that you not having that story is great. I think what is really problematic is that your carbs are too high. Probably your fat intake is likely too low and you're exhausted. And I would try to shift that so that my fat intake is higher and my carb intake is lower. The other thing that I'm going to point out to you is I wouldn't be pushing fasting at this point in this situation. Like, I feel like at this stage of the game, it's the most important thing for you to do is eat based on when feeling hungry or not feeling hungry. But I wouldn't be trying to fast unless that's just naturally where you've landed. But it made me feel like how you wrote this made me feel like you did this purposefully. I'm doing 16-8 and if that's the case, I would really encourage you, bring your carbs down to under 20. How far under 20, only you're going to be able to tell, but you should be feeling energized. You should be feeling better. You should be having mental clarity. Like, you should see things happening and positive things happening that help you to understand that your body is getting healthier. I have a lot of videos on my channel that kind of touch these ideas. If you want to look at some of my earlier ones especially, I think that might be helpful for you. Okay, so I think that was all I wanted to say on that one. And then we have, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm 60 years old and I weigh 270. I gained a lot of weight during COVID, was considering surgery, but watched one of my videos and it's giving me hope. I'm going to watch this video as often as I can to try to change what I eat. I eat a lot during the night. I eat food that just make me crave more. So this one, the reason I put it up, there's two reasons. And I'm going to go to the first reason first, because when I put this up, I was so happy to see this. I couldn't put all the comments, but these are the comments under this post, encouraging and just wanting to show that it's possible and that keep trying, keep moving, you can do it. That made me so happy to see people, to see wellness warriors helping wellness warriors. That's what it's all about. It's part of the reason that I have the wellness squad. It's part of the reason that I'm coming, well, I have a one coaching and I'm trying to come up with a different one that's more focused on us having actual conversations about all the stuff that I'm learning. That's coming soon, by the way. It's coming in the maybe beginning of next year, the latest. We need to have more conversations where we encourage each other and show each other that it's possible to lose weight in a healthy way. And so, first of all, watching this video over and over to help yourself, so the video from Friday, over and over to help yourself see that there are things you can do. Yes, I agree with that. I think it's great to, oh, that's another reason that I have that live stream that I put up for you guys that runs from after I finish this live stream, I put it up. I start it and it runs till the next live stream that I do next Monday. I do that so that you could just turn on. You don't have to try to decide what video to watch. Just turn it on and there's going to be a video there that's going to have good information for you. And I'm constantly updating the list of videos that are in there so that basically whenever you feel like it, you don't even have to try to decide. Like I loved when I was growing up that I could just come home after school, sit down and turn on my favorite sitcom and they would just play an episode. And yes, by the time that I was doing this, that I'm talking about CEGEP in university, they were shows that I had already watched the entire series of. You know, stuff like Everybody Loves Raymond or Friends or whatever. But I loved the wholesome comedy of those shows compared to what we get today. And it was nice that I didn't have to decide which episode am I watching today. I just turned it on and they played me an episode. That's why I'm doing this. I feel like sometimes we go to a channel and we want to watch something and we're reading the titles and we're trying to decide. And sometimes it's just nice to not have to decide that. Like I know that all of the videos are good. I just play me something. So I hope that helps more people to click in, play it in the background, just let it soak in while you're washing the dishes or, you know, maybe you're doing laundry and you're just folding things and you can't necessarily be looking at the screen, but you can listen to it and truly have it become part of how you think. That we eat healthy every day because that's what's best for us. And that by eating healthy every day, I get my health back, which means I get my life back. So the part where you're 60 and you have weight to lose, I can resonate. I wasn't 60, I was 46 when I had 80 pounds to lose. And just, you know, we don't even know how good we could feel until we're feeling it. But I was afraid of surgery too. My surgery wasn't like a weight surgery. My surgery was a hip surgery. But I feel like what you're talking about is a weight surgery. So here's what I'm going to say about that. It's unfortunate that medical will tell us something's a solution that's only a partial solution. And I want you to understand that if you decide to go the route of getting the surgery, what's important for you to understand is that it's a partial solution. I've known multiple people who did do a way of do a surgery without adding a way of eating that was going to correct the original problem, right? Because their weight gain was not because they didn't have surgery. Their weight gain was because of what they were eating. If you don't solve the original problem, the how you're eating part of the problem, then your body is going to, at some point, if you keep eating that way, put the weight back on. And so it becomes really important for all of us to just make sure that we do whatever we can at the very beginning to make sure that we solve the original problem. I'm eating, right? Because if I don't let myself solve the original problem, that I'm overeating carbohydrates, or let myself solve the original problem that I'm whatever it is, wellness warrior. Like I do these videos every week because I want you to learn that there is a way to solve this. And if you don't know there's a way to solve it, what happens is you keep doing the thing that is harming you without even realizing that it's harming you. And why do we do that? Well, because we're just used to self-soothing with food all the time. We're just used to entertaining ourselves with food all the time. We're used to these things. And so therefore, we do them habitually. That means I'm doing it without actually thinking. So yes, watch the video over and over. Yes, click into the live stream. It will be up later on today. Watch that whenever you get the chance. Help yourself to change your mindset so that eat healthy all the time becomes the thing that just naturally comes to you immediately. Because when that comes to you immediately, naturally, your life is different. You know, the last thing I'm going to say on this is that I'm constantly hearing people say that they can't stop thinking about the foods they don't get to eat. I'm constantly hearing people say that they wish they could still be like everybody else and eat the pizza and eat the cookies and I hear that all the time. And then people will say, well, you know, you have so much willpower, Violet, as you never have that happen. It's not about willpower, Wellness Warrior. Not even a little bit about willpower. The truth of the matter is, the only reason that I don't crave eating these foods that everybody else craves is because I don't eat them. That's actually the reason. If I would have been that person allowing myself to eat garbage because it looked fun, eat garbage because everybody else was eating garbage, if I would have been that person that allowed myself to do that, then I would be in that situation where my body would be screaming and I would be chasing all the time. I know for a fact that there are some people in my audience who've never known what it feels like to chase, you know, a hard substance. You just don't even know what it feels like. You know, you watch movies and you see people like doing all kinds of just crazy looking stuff to get it. And you're looking at it going, why? Why would anybody do that? And your brain cannot compute. I'm like that. My brain cannot compute. But because of the work I've done, I know that the reason my brain cannot compute is because I've never touched it. That's why I don't understand why someone would be willing to sell their children's toys to get it. Why someone would be willing to, you know, do what all the crazy stuff that they do. I do get it though. Why would somebody risk their health for cookies? Why would somebody risk a hip surgery for chocolate? And the only reason that I totally get it right now is because when I started my keto lifestyle back in 2018 on April 20th, when I started my keto lifestyle, I did not expect my week to look the way that it looked. Not at all. I thought, oh, switch these foods out for these foods, do that, you know, for the next few months. I'm going to lose weight. Life goes back to normal. That's what I thought it was going to look like. What happened was I switched these foods out for these foods. First of all, not understanding how much fat I needed to add. So let me put that there. I was starving in my estimation. I wasn't, but I thought I was. I was hungry. I was so hungry. After day number 3, I was extremely hungry. I was not able to think straight. I was having physical reactions. Like, I remember being like uncomfortable in my body. I remember being like sweating when it wasn't even hot. Like, I could objectively look at the temperature. It wasn't hot. I was sweating. I was going through some stuff that when I stopped and remembered what I do, and I went and I checked, and I was looking at the list, and I was having withdrawal symptoms. I was having withdrawal. And what was I thinking about, by the way? Interestingly, it was flipping back and forth between French fries. That's what I wanted to eat. High carbohydrate food. And chocolate bars. Nutrient deficient, high carbohydrate foods. That's what I wanted to eat. That's what was running through my mind. And obviously, trying to solve my hip, thank goodness that's what I was thinking that I wanted to eat. Can you imagine if what I was wanting would have been like rice and meat? If I was actually wanting rice, I might have just thought, well, rice, not a big deal to have rice once in a while, right? It's just a diet. I might have been in that thought process, especially with my cravings pushing me as hard as they were. Luckily, though, I was asking for these two things that I absolutely knew should not be on my plate, especially because by that point, no, actually, I didn't know that yet. So I can't even say that. Yeah, I just knew that French fries were high carb. I knew that chocolate bars were high carb, and that was what was causing my hip to hurt. Those starchy vegetables, that was the first thing that I took off my plate. So I knew I couldn't have them. And then when I figured out it was chasing behavior, I was just like, that withdrawal, like it. So finding out that I was addicted, Wellness Warrior, put me in the position where I will say that I was no longer dealing with, oh, you're just overweight. And honestly, that's what pushed all the rest of the research that came after that. Because once I started, there was no reason for me to keep researching, right? I'm ingesting the stuff. There was no reason for me to keep researching. I kept researching because I figured out that there was another piece of the puzzle happening. And I needed to understand, what was that? Why was it happening? And yeah, I needed to know. So I wasn't expecting to be in that position of being, of being, of chasing something, of waiting for surgery. And I think what I want you to understand about what I just said is that if we don't understand that the food we're eating is causing the problem, we'll get the surgery. And then we get the surgery, but then what happens? Well, I get the surgery, but I go back to eating those foods in smaller proportions, because when you first get the surgery, you can't eat much. But now here's the real problem. Does it matter how much I'm eating? My body is insulin resistant, number one. My body just went through a surgery, which means that it suffered a stress, which means that cortisol is high because likely I'm in some level of pain and cortisol is high. And so problem number 2. I want us to understand that this insulin resistance problem that we're living, this inflammation problem that we're living, this chronic stress problem, because when our body is inflamed all the time, we are now chronically stressed. All these things add up to equal, my body isn't doing well. So I'm super happy that you decided to focus on food rather than focusing on surgery. Now the next step is, this is a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. It's how I will eat for the rest of my life. The standard Canadian diet, standard Bajan diet, the two diets that I was eating, will never be my standard diet ever again. That I can say. Now, will I eat a veg ever again, or avocado or olive? I still think that's possible. I could totally see myself in a situation where I'm out in some tropical place and I have the opportunity to pick a ripe something off a tree and see what it should really taste like. Will I cook? Sorry, will I grow vegetables at home so I could do that? No, I don't care enough. I don't care enough. I won't grow them at home so I can do that. But if I'm in the right situation, I'll do it. I want to take a moment right now to thank the supporters of the channel, because you guys help these videos to happen, because it gives me time to focus my energy on watching videos and reading books and buying books even. So that's really cool, and I appreciate you. And I would love to know if you guys have any questions for me, because, yeah. Hey, Jackie. I'm glad you're able to make it here. Hello, Second Wind. I'm glad you're able to make it here. Just joined OMAD, 2 meals a day. 1 meal a day or 2 meal a day? Okay. Which one is better? Thank you for all you do. I really appreciate you. Actually, let me change cameras so I can look this way. I really appreciate you. And what I would say is neither is better or worse. It really does come down to you. The way that I like to have people think about it is that if you are hungry, first of all, let's start there. If you're hungry, eat. And if I follow my body every single time, so basically I do what my body asks me to do. I eat when it tells me it wants food. You might be one of those people that ends up 2 meals a day forever. You might follow your body and end up 1 meal a day forever. You might follow your body and sometimes see that there are certain days I'm 2 meals a day, but then the most of the time I'm 1 meal a day. And it could be vice versa. Most of the time I'm two meals a day, but once in a while I'm 1 meal a day. If I'm following my body, that's not a problem. Because what's happening, I'm going to take this a step further. What's actually happening is that when I follow my body, what I'll notice is that if there's something to repair, so let's say I had a really big workout, right? Obviously my body's going to be building some muscle. The next few days, I might find myself hungry. Versus if I'm sick, let's say I catch a cold or something or whatever, and my body needs to repair, it's going to be like, yeah, you don't need food. I remember when I had the issue from 2019 at the very beginning, gosh, I went days without eating, and then my body asked me for food. Because why? Because it was trying to figure things out and fix things and whatever, and eating was not going to help it do that. So what I encourage you to do, Second Wind, is follow your body. If it wants food, it's going to let you know, and if it doesn't want food, it doesn't want food. The other thing that I'm going to point out is that sometimes when our body is asking for water, we think it's asking for food. So since you're new here, I'm going to put that on the table for you as well. We only have one signal to ingest something. And I've noticed for myself, and so I've shared it with the community, that when you drink water, when you get that hunger signal at a time that, let's say you've eaten and theoretically you think that you shouldn't be, it might be true that you're just not hungry. So I encourage people, that first signal that you get that says, oh, drink some water. See if you're actually hungry. The truth of the matter is, especially if you have a lot of something to solve, whether it's weight to lose or you're healing something, your body does need you to take in water sometimes. So if you don't take it in, then you're not going to be able to know whether that was a call for water or if it was a call for food. You also love fasting days and days. Well, again, if you have the ability to fast and help your body clean up, it's worth doing. Um, but I don't encourage people to fast for weight loss because I think psychologically it sets us up for bad behavior. So, for example, I've been in scenarios where I'm talking to people and it's like they will eat off plan and then use fasting as a way to kind of negate it, but you can't negate it. I use this example because it makes the most sense to me. If I drank some kind of poison accidentally, but luckily for me, someone was standing right beside me with the antidote. Even if I drank the antidote immediately, it doesn't negate the fact that I drank the poison. So therefore, the poison had an impact. And whatever cells were damaged or whatever happened, I will need to live with that damage until my body can repair it. Now, if the thing that got damaged is vital, yes, my body will try to repair that sooner than later. But what if the thing that got damaged isn't vital? Your body prioritizes you being alive. It prioritizes your health more than things that we might just find annoying. So if whatever it did is now causing a frustration point for me, but it's not life threatening, my body might be in there working on my heart or my liver or my lungs or something else. And it's going to be like, Violet, you're going to wait because this is more important. And that's what will happen. I will have to wait no matter how much I try to push fasting, no matter how much, right? It's just, if what it's working on, my heart, for example, needs working on, I can fast as much as I want to try to get, skin conditions to change. If my heart needs fixing, my skin condition will wait. So I want us to think about it from that perspective, because I also feel that if my heart needs work and I'm fasting to try to push weight loss, but my body is asking me for building blocks because it's trying to fix something, it's going to ramp up that hunger so high. Again, all you're going to be able to. So now you're fighting with yourself, and that to me is always a losing proposition. I really want you all to focus your attention on the fact that if I'm eating appropriately, then I will be comfortable doing my keto carnivore journey. If I'm not eating appropriately, I'm going to be hungry, and then we need to problem solve. Why are you hungry? One of billions. That's an interesting name. Glad I didn't sell my crossbow because I'm moving to deer population, and they mostly eat forest and field wild grown stuff. Okay. The reports of fellow boomers being major helped by keto carnivore. The reports of fellow boomers being majors. Okay. So I think what you're trying to say in that last sentence is that you feel like people are like us boomers are getting healthier because of keto and carnivore, which I definitely believe, if that's what you were trying to say. And the fact that you get to catch your own deers is going to be interesting. I'm assuming that means that you do hunt. And so therefore, I guess congratulations on being able to be back in touch with your food. One of the things that I think caused us to be okay with companies feeding us garbage is because we are not in touch with our food. I've never in the history of being me had to actually get the thing that I was going to eat off a tree or off out of a field or out of the water. Even though I've gone fishing, I at the time when I was going fishing, I didn't like fish, so I never ate it. I gave it to my grandmother. So I do feel like if you're in the scenario where you get to actually eat what you catch, it's going to help you to feel connected to what you're doing, which I think is amazing. And I don't know that we can ever really understand the true benefit of that until we're doing it. So I hope you see the benefit. Second Wind is saying 100 pounds overweight and lots of fat on my body. Okay. So then, yeah, I would imagine that you probably can fast comfortably if you're eating keto correctly. And so that's another thing that I will say is that another reason that people feel like so another reason that I think that certain people can lose more weight quickly than others is that if I have a good amount of weight on my body and I get my body into a ketogenic state, while in that ketogenic state and eating healthy, there's going to be periods of time where my body might say to me, yeah, don't bring in anything right now because we're going to take from reserves. And they can still take from reserves and heal things because we have that much reserves. And so all the fatty acids that it needs to build and repair, and even some of the amino acids that it could use to build and repair exist already in the body. So it's not problematic for your body to use that stuff. So again, I think that's probably why a lot of people with a lot of weight on their body can fast longer. One of my biggest disappointments, I guess it would be, is that because I lost like my 80 pounds in, I believe it was, how much months? It was 5 months. Because I did that in 5 months, I actually didn't have the opportunity to fast long at that point. I hadn't even thought about fasting. I was really just focused on getting my hip to feel better, and then I was focused on trying to figure out how to what's the next step, which I found out was just keep going. And so by the time I started fasting longer than 2 days, I was already at goal weight. So I was never able to fast more than 5 days. And I know that there are people who say they've done it easily for 7+ days. So that's a little bit of a frustration of mine that I can't say I fasted for a week. I can only say 5 days. Although one of my fasts, when I was trying to make it, I did a technical week. So because if you dry fast, it counts as more than a day. And so I did I started with dry fast, and then I did normal fast, and then I did another dry fast, and I kind of interspersed a few dry fasts so that I could do a technical week. And I did make my technical week, but I've never actually, I still ended at 5 days, of calendar days. I couldn't make it past it. So yeah, it's one of those things where but I'm happy to be healthy, and that's all that really matters. You are very welcome, one of billions. I'm glad that you found this talk useful and informative. Same, agree, trying to find a very healthy approach long term. Yeah, you're switching to carnivore? Okay. I think that if you switch to carnivore because it makes sense for you, and not just as a matter of it's going to expedite weight loss, it'll work. I'm a very firm believer that we should do things as our body allows us to. So if you're still getting great results with keto and you're feeling like you're progressing, I would probably, instead of going straight carnivore, I'd probably just slowly start tapering off some of the higher carb things you're eating. Like maybe there's some vegetables that you could just take those out of your diet for the next month. And then as you feel really good about that, you take another something out of your diet for next month. I will tell you that I think one of the reasons I didn't get oxalate dumping was because that's how I did my weight loss. I just slowly pulled things out, slowly. And by the time that I went carnivore for more than a year, I was eating avocado on one day of the week, olives on a different day of the week. So, and then occasionally every second week, I was having a salad. So not even weekly, every second week. So that was like in a 2-week period, I was having 5 days where I was eating vegetation, and the rest of the days, so 9 days, were carnivore days. Even with that, I was still calling myself a keto person because I'm eating vegetation. So I feel like I like words just have the meaning that they have. If you're doing ketogenic diet, that's what you're doing. It means that you're eating vegetation. It's 20 grams of carbs or less. That's so the or less is part of the definition. Theoretically, to me, I think carnivore falls under keto, but carnivore is where you've taken that decision. Yeah, there's no more plants on my plate anymore. And once you take that decision, yes, I understand calling yourself a carnivore. I didn't do that because I was still eating avocado, olives, and an occasional salad. And if I were to decide to have a fruit off a tree, then I would have had a keto day for sure. And if I did it for the entire week that I was on vacation, I had a keto week. But if I started doing it when I got back home and now it was just part of what I did, yeah, then I'm back to being someone doing a keto diet because I would have now been deciding to eat 20 grams of carbs or less. It's the or less there that we need to be careful about. If I'm doing it, I'm doing it. Body has its priorities to be respected. I totally agree with you on that. That's exactly a yeah. Couldn't complete sentence. Up. Sorry, I'm not sure what that refers to. I'm not sure what that refers to. I'm 55 and 100 pounds overweight, and believe carnivore over time will heal so much. Okay, if that's what that's referring to, carnivore and intermittent fasting seems like a win for weight loss, for sure. So what I would say, second win, is that it's a win for good health. One of the things that I try to say as often as possible, and thank you very much for reminding me that I didn't say it today, is that when you eat healthy and your body begins to heal, a healthy body regulates its weight. It's not about forcing weight loss. It's about doing all the things that helps your body to be healthy. Yes, eating meat, fish, poultry, eggs will help your body to be healthy because that's actually what my body sees as food. Vegetation that we currently eat for entertainment, we used to eat because it helped get us by. And then, of course, when your body is feeling amazing, when your internals are working properly and things are functioning better, yeah, your body is going to pull energy off you for other processes that it could be working on. It's going to do all the things. And that's still amazing, right? It's another level of amazing. But the first step is eat healthy so your body can get healthy. And then your body will take care of the rest. Your weight will regulate. If you guys are watching Homestead How and Bill Knott, like those two channels, like Bill Knott has lost 250 pounds in a year by eating properly. And his body is healing him. He still has more weight to lose, apparently. I'm not exactly sure what he weighs right now, but he still has more weight to lose. I mean, and not only is he going to lose the weight, when we do this the right way, there'll be certain periods where our body's going to be like, yeah, you don't need to eat right now. And when our body's telling us that we don't need to eat right now, sometimes the reason our body is telling us that is because it's going to go and it's going to take some of that excess skin that you have hanging around that is not being used. Your body is not wasteful. If there are cells there that it can repurpose, it's going to repurpose them. And so I definitely saw that with myself. My loose skin is tightening up, and I haven't done any procedures, and it's tightening up. So we just need to learn to trust our bodies. So I hope that I'm making this as clear as I possibly can, because I want you to succeed. It really is about eat the healthy food, let your body heal, then your body was going to give you the best health that you can have at this stage, and you're going to go and live life, and you're going to love it. Used to get venison by asking hunters in newspaper ads, but not anymore, and I don't know why. I guess I will have to hunt my own. Okay. Never shot more than a rabbit. Okay. Well, I would imagine if you've shot a rabbit, though, you're probably capable of shooting a deer. I don't know if I could do that. Yeah, I don't know if I could do that. And then, I mean, the whole process of the butchery, I'm not sure if I could do that. But I have hats off to those who can. And if I knew somebody who was doing it, I'd for sure be willing to like split the costs and have the appropriate healthy meats on my plate. So, because wild animals eat what they're supposed to eat, right? They're not fed grain. They're not fed candy, by the way. If you're not aware, in the United States, I've learned that there are certain places that give candy that couldn't be sold to the cows, which I find is so disgusting, with the wrappers on, which I find is so disgusting. Um, it doesn't make any sense. But again, it's all about fattening them up at any and the cheapest way we possibly can. Discarded candy, why not? How hungry does a cow need to be to eat that? It doesn't make any sense to me. J Sharp, with the carnivore diet, have you experienced the orange oil in your stool? Any cause for concern there? I have no idea what you're talking about. You shouldn't see orange oil in your, like, I'm trying to understand what that even means. So for me, what I would say is that if I were to eat a very oily meal for some reason, and I mean, honestly, the reason to eat an oily meal is because it would taste good. But if I were to eat a very oily meal that ended up causing me to have loose stool, could the loose stool be, could I pass through the oil is basically what I'm asking myself. I guess theoretically that's possible, but I mean, for the number of times in my history of being me that I've had loose stool because I've overeaten fat, I've never seen oil actually pass through into the toilet. So there's a question mark for me whether that's something real or if that's some kind of propaganda that people are trying to scare carnivores with. If you heard that, Jay, if you heard that from a doctor, like Dr. Barry, Dr. Berg, Dr. Westman, if you heard it from Dr. Bickman, one of the doctors in the space, Baker, then maybe I might take it a bit more seriously. But if you heard it from somebody, I would be very, very, very cautious of where that's coming from and how often that's happening, because I've not experienced it personally, so I'll just say that. And I eat quite fatty meals, and I haven't had that experience. And as I've mentioned, I put butter in my coffee every single day, and I haven't had that experience. So I hope that's helpful, but I know that there's a lot of misinformation that tries to be spread because they want to scare us away from eating healthy and get us back on the garbage. And you're going gradually off all carbs. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. One of billions. Bye bye butter, beans is hard. Bye to butter is hard. Oh, butter beans. Oh, butter beans. I guess that's a kind of bean. Okay. Honestly, when you start feeling even better, I think you'll probably not find it that hard. But yeah. Thank you for clarity between weight loss and healthy body. I really want all of us to understand that second wind. So if I can even be more clear, just let me know, because that is the most important thing. Your body controls everything that's happening. We think we're forcing our body to do things. We're not forcing our body to do things. So, like, your body's going to do with the food what's supposed to happen, whether you want it to or not. Couldn't complete former comment about Boomer's report. Okay, more reports all the time was what I couldn't finish comment with. The text went gone. I don't know why. Okay. Okay, so the reports of fellow boomers being major helped by keto carnivore. Okay. Reports. More reports all the time. So I'm not sure if my answer to you was helpful, but I do feel like I'm not sure if I have anything to add because I'm not really sure I still understand the comment, but that's okay. You keep moving on. Maybe I'm eating too much fat with the meats. Not sure. No loose stool, regular, but I noticed it. Oh, you noticed it. Okay. So my next question now, Jay, is have you ever had any, the one that produces bile, gallbladder issues? Bile, gallbladder? Yeah. Have you ever had any gallbladder issues? Um, because I'm wondering if it could be related to not enough bile, perhaps. Because what I understood from Dr. Chafee is that our body expects us to eat a certain amount of fat, and it produces bile for that amount of fat. Now, obviously, if we start eating more fat, your body would produce more bile. But how long would it take it to catch up? That I don't know. So, is it possible that maybe you've started to eat more and your body is just trying to catch up? I'm wondering about that. I actually experienced it with trying to switch over to carnivore. I wonder what I'm doing wrong. Maybe it's the EVOO eggs, virgin olive oil. Is that what that is? Is that? Can you tell me what EVOO is? Because I'm not up on all the acronyms. But eggs. Yeah, I would probably. You're telling me that this is you, so I would probably be looking at how much fat's coming in, and I'd make sure that I have enough protein to balance out my fat. So, and it might be something where you might be adding fat to everything. That's not necessary. That's one of the things that I didn't like at the very beginning of my journey. Everybody's recipes was like wrap bacon around this, wrap bacon around that, add bacon to this, and that wasn't necessary for me. Although at the same time, I wasn't using enough fat at the very beginning. But like, I think that wrapping bacon around everything isn't the answer either. That was too much. I think for me, I started to realize that if I decided to purchase normal cuts of meat, that's when I did the best. So when I went to the grocery store, I was looking for pieces of meat that actually had fat around the rim. If it's a piece of meat, I would buy chicken with the skin. And of course, I'm eating the whole egg. So I'm just doing the things that help my body to get the fat that it should get with whatever I'm having. Now I've spoken to doctors, a bunch of doctors at different points in time, and realizing that even the amount of fat that's on our meat would have been more. All this to say, if you're feeling good, I would probably pass this question to like one of the keto carnivore doctors. But I don't know if I would be so worried about it. But I don't even know if I would have noticed. I don't even know if I would have been checking for that. But if you're feeling good, I would pass it to one of the keto carnivore doctors, because to me it feels like somehow you're eating so much fat that you're just eliminating some of it. So going back to what Dr. Bright said, Dr. Elizabeth Bright, about iodine, for her, she's like, if you overeat iodine, nothing bad is going to happen. You're just going to urinate out some of it. So we'll pass some of it out. I guess you could pass it through feces as well. But her point was you just pass it out. So I'm just wondering, if you overeat fat, does the exact same thing happen? Like, I know that when you eat vegetation and then have some kind of gastrointestinal disturbance, you see vegetation come out in your stool. But like, I've not ever noticed meat matter or fat before. So that's where I'm not sure. Let's move on. Urmila, hello. Hi. I don't like the taste of red meat. I eat eggs, chicken, butter, ghee, and shrimp. Would I need to take a step? No. I mean, what you need to do is eat animal protein, which you are. Do you like fish? You said you eat shrimp, but do you eat fish? I probably would add fish if you do like fish. I would just keep it as wide as possible in terms of the actual animal foods. Red meat. So let me just go back to red meat. So I will tell you my story because I think it's going to be helpful to you. I hated fish. As I told the story earlier, I would go fishing and then give the fish to my grandmother. I hated fish. But since doing my keto carnivore lifestyle, so, and I don't know when this happened, so I can't pinpoint and say give keto the credit for this versus carnivore. All I know is it did happen. When we were carnivore for several weeks, Pat made fish for supper. And, or no, I'm even wrong. No, he did make it, but he made it here at my house. Yeah, so he made fish for supper, and I had, I think, pork chops. And he was so happy with how his salmon turned out that he's like, "Oh, seriously, Val, you have to try it." And of course, I'm like, "Yeah, no." And eventually, he did convince me. He's like, "What do you have? You have like a bunch of meat on your plate still to eat. Like, what do you have to lose?" But I'm telling you, like, it came out really good. And the reason that he told me he needed me to try it was because for the first time ever, he had fish while he was carnivore, and we were doing just salt. So for the first time ever, he made salmon with all he put on it was salt and butter. He cooked it in butter. And so he's like, seriously, you have to try it. So in the end, I'm like, okay, I still have a bunch of stuff. How would I have to lose? And it was delicious. And like, well, should I say delicious now? Today I find it delicious. It wasn't revolting, is what I'll say at that first day. I was expecting to be like, ugh. And it was like, wait, that's good. I've since made it for myself a few different times, and I find it delicious now. What am I pointing out? But now remember, today I'm months past carnivore. Like I started in February, and we are now, November. So, but the point I'm making is this: what we don't understand is that we are always in the position where we're eating foods that we then get used to. And therefore, we think we don't like other flavors, but it's because the flavors we are eating are so strong that it's overshadowing everything else. So I'm happy that I gave it a try and tried it just to see. And it tasted good because now it's one other thing that I get to eat. I did the same thing when I interviewed Sharon. That's one of the interviews on my channel. And she told me, oh, you should try shrimp scallops. You should try scallops. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I really do well with things from the sea. And she was right. Scallops are good. Now, they're good to me today. Would I have liked them years ago? Probably not. But they're good to me today. And I'm that person that I didn't like shrimp, right? So and I still kind of don't like shrimp. So I've had shrimp, although when was the last time I had it more recently? I'll probably have to test that out again. But I had shrimp during the course of being keto, and I still didn't like it. So there's something about our taste buds changing, and we need to give it time. And every once in a while, I will taste something that I didn't used to like, to see where I am with it now because of that experience. Because of liking the scallops, first of all, did allow me to try the fish when Pat asked me to try it, although at first I said no. But I did eventually try it because, as he pointed out to me, but you like the scallops, you didn't think you were going to like that. And it was like, oh, that was true. So, have to run now. Thank you for taking time to answer my questions. Very grateful. I'm so happy that I was able to be helpful to you. Second Wind. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Lots to learn. Absolutely, Jay Sharp. I do think there's so much. I'm still learning. I'm 6.5 years. Gonna be 7 year. Yeah, it's gonna be 7 years on April 20th, and I'm still learning. Like I said, I have a new book I'm reading, and I'm just excited to get through it. You don't like fish either. Yeah, you know what? Take your time. This is not a race. The other thing I want us to all think about is this is forever, right? Like this is how we're going to eat going forward. So you don't need to like it right now. And maybe you'll never like it. I don't know. Like that's possible. You might be one of those people that it might just not be your thing. And if that's the case, it's fine. But I think what I would like you to think about is allowing yourself the possibility of like figuring out if maybe at some point you try it again, right? So, and it doesn't have to be this minute. It could be next year. It could be next week. Like, you're going to decide what you want to do. So let me see, what else do we have here? You enjoy bone broth. Okay, again, the things that we don't necessarily give ourselves credit for is that if I'm enjoying that bone broth, did I always enjoy bone broth? Because maybe that's something new. But if you didn't like it before, then you can try it again in a few weeks or something. That's awesome. That means that taste change. I just need to stick with only what. Yes, of course. Did I not say that? Okay, sorry. Yeah, taste change. Our taste buds refresh every. Gosh, I know it's less than a few weeks, but I'm not sure exactly how many days. How often do we get new tastes? We get new taste buds about every 10 days on average. So what that actually means is that, like, they don't all change at once. We're constantly getting new ones and they're getting replaced, right? So basically, if you just let yourself eat healthy moving forward, that we don't reintroduce garbage and we just we stick to healthy foods, every 10 days ish, you're getting some new ones. Now, think about your tongue. There's thousands of taste buds on there. So every 10 days you're getting new ones, and eventually over time, what's going to happen is that you're going to replace the entirety of your mouth, and therefore, like, that'll be a new scenario, right? But I don't even think you need to replace them all. Probably you just need to replace enough of them that you start to taste these other flavors well. One thing I can say is that another one of my aha moments of, like, things tasting different, when I was eating, what was I eating? I was eating cashews. So when I first started eating nuts in my keto journey, because it was one of the healthy things we could have, nuts tasted like nuts to me. They tasted fine. I didn't love them. I didn't hate them, but they were just something I could have sometimes. As I progressed, first of all, I started to really love the salty of nuts, is what I thought. But I also noticed that as time progressed, cashews, which were my favorite, started to taste sweet to me. And by the time I was at the end of my road with cashews, honestly, I would put a cashew in my mouth and you would think, if I didn't know better that it was a cashew, I would think that someone gave me a candy and I accidentally put it in my mouth. They tasted so sweet to me and they were causing me to chase. And anytime I was upset or frustrated or annoyed or something, I wanted it was a bad situation, Wellness Warriors. And I eventually just stopped having them. I just want to take a moment here because there's something that was starred. Oh, okay. Remember. Okay. And then, so what do we have here? Actually, I'm going to put this on screen. I don't know if I put this on screen, but somebody joined the membership. Karen Blagman Anderson. Glad to have you in the membership. I'm not sure if I noticed that earlier. I think I saw it on another of my live streams, but I didn't realize they show it on all of them, I guess. I'm not sure. Okay, so Senpai Ken, very happy to have you here. Would you recommend farm-raised salmon as a good carnivore-friendly food? I find it to be a relatively cheap option. My only concern is the artificial coloring. Some of the farm-raised salmon don't have the artificial coloring. You can, if you go to, depending on where you buy it from, sometimes you see that it's lighter colored and doesn't seem to have the artificial color. But I feel like, in terms of what we have access to, if you want to have salmon in your life, I think it depends on you. If you eat it and you have reactions to the dye, then I wouldn't eat it again. For whatever reason, I don't seem to be reacting to it. Although, like I said, I found that certain times, it seems like at Costco, certain times it looks like it was too red, like too pink, and then other times it looks like normal. So like it looks like it just looks pale, which is to me makes more sense for being farmed. But we also have the benefit at Costco that we have available to us also wild caught, and mostly I would just go for that. So I don't even if I just only have it when I can get it wild caught. So now to answer that other question, which is if I buy wild caught once in a while versus buying farmed all the time, like am I getting the benefits? And I think that any meat you're eating is going to give you what you need. I know that we're trying to get those omega 6s in higher doses by doing fish. However, I still encourage everybody that to take into consideration that you might be getting it might be that getting that salmon in once a week, or instead of having it 3 times a week, I'm having it once a week, might be worth it if I'm not getting the dye versus having it 3 times a week, but I'm getting the dye. So it's like, it's looking at the finances and figuring out what's my budget and then making my budget work for me. And by the way, if you're doing carnivore, which I'm not really sure if you are or not, when you let go of those veg, you can transition all that money over to the quality of your meats and fish and poultry and eggs. So I would also put my attention there. Like, you're benefiting no matter what. And if spending the extra on the farmed fish means that my health just improves triple, again, you're benefiting yourself. Farm raised is not a good choice from everyone I've heard. Farm raised fish. Okay, so I mean, yeah, I feel like you're gonna have to make your decision, but they're not eating their correct diet, which is hard. I think that's okay. So going back to what Dr. Chaffee taught me, the reason that he basically focuses all his attention on red meat is and ruminant red meat more specifically is because ruminant animals have the ability in their gut system to process out that they're fed the wrong foods. Versus if we wanted to be eating these other animals, then really what would be happening is that we would be eating these animals that are not able to process out because they don't have the extra stomachs. And so we get more of their toxins into us. So that's the problem that I see there. That for the farm raised fish, again, we have to do what we can afford to do as well. So I'm going to leave that to you guys. And it looks like that's the end of my questions for today. This was really fun. I like when we have Q&As. And we get to have just have a nice conversation. So I'm going to be live again next Monday at 11:20. Love talking to you guys. I would really appreciate if you guys could share this video because it really does help me. And I'm topics for videos. I'm going to be looking forward to that. If you have any, talk to you guys next week. And have a really great rest of your day. And I hope you get to go out and do something fun. I'm going to try to go do something fun right now. Bye, guys.